Hello, what's going on, guys? So in this video, we'll be discussing object manipulation. And as a reminder, objects are data structure used to store related data that is usually represented in key value pairs, right? And also the keys give us easy way to reference the values. All right, so they are usually descriptive string. Okay, and the values can be any valid data type, be it string, numbers, boolean, array, or even objects. Okay, and so the goal of this lesson is to be able to modify or manipulate objects. And the reason for manipulation being that, for example, now you want to get an array from your object, because array has more methods that we can use to manipulate it, and you really can't use those methods directly on objects, so there is need for what? For conversion. All right, and that's what we'll be looking at in this video. Okay, and the available methods on objects include Object.keys, the Object.values, the entries, and from entries. All right, and with these four, we can convert either of the key or the value or the whole key value pair into our array, and even convert it back from that array to object. All right, so here I've provided us with initial data that we'll be working with. So we have an object named person with all this property and value. It has a name, the person has a name, okay, weight, hair color, and so on and so forth. And we also have objects that contains different items. Okay, so it's shopping time. All right, let's get to it. So the first method we are going to check is key, the Object.keys method. All right, so what does Object.keys, what does it do? All right, so the Object.key is used when you need to get array of all the keys in your object. Do you understand? So you want to store all these keys in either of the person or the item price. You want to store them in an array so that you can use all those available array methods on them. All right, so let's create a variable called let's say person props, okay, equals to Object.keys. Okay, and the Object.keys we always take what? The object that you want to get its keys. All right, so the object I'm interested in here is, okay, let's say person. Okay, and so let's console.log that log person props. Okay, and let's run that. Okay, it's taking long. Okay, let's run it again. I guess it's network. Okay, now can we see? Now we now have array of all the properties on this object: name, weight, hair color, is married, and hobby. And the beautiful thing about this is that you can now run any array method that you want to that you feel like on all these keys now on this new variable that we created that is called person props. All right, for example, you can just let's just try one const excuse me, const uh const props. Okay, let's say capitalized capitalized props equals to person props. Okay, person props dots. Okay, let's use map. Okay, and let's call prop, and let's tell it to return what props dots to uppercase, so to uppercase I think uppercase. Okay, so what we are doing here is that we want to turn each of these property, we want to turn them to uppercase. By default I really can't do that on object because I can't use map or any array methods on it. So now console.log capitalize props, and let's see what we have. Capitalize props. Okay. And let's run. Oops. Okay, we made mistake here, so it should be prop. So let's try it again. Okay, now can we see? So we now have name, weight, and everything capitalized. So that's one of the use case. It depends on what you want to do, but what you have just done is getting all the props from the object. Okay, so and this only work for the what, for the keys alone. Okay, if you want the value, well, let's see. So now this is for the Object.keys. I'm going to comment out the console.log so that to keep our console clean. And next up is Object.values, right? Object.values. Okay, so you want to use Object.values when what you really want is what is the value that is present for every keys on an object. For instance, const price or prices, or okay, let's just say const prices of item or price of items, anyhow of items equals to objects.values. Okay, object.values, then I want my items price. Okay, and then we can then console.log what, console.log price of items, and let's see what we have here. Okay, now see, we now have 2000, 2000, and so on and so forth. What this means is that, for example, now if I want to know the total price, okay, I can easily calculate my total price from here using any of the array method that suits that purpose. Okay, so for example now, let's say const total or total price equals to price of items dot reduce. Okay, so we want to give it a first parameter which will be the total, and the second parameter will be the current value, okay, of the iteration, and I want it to give me total plus the current value of iteration, and I want it to start at 0. So I want the initial value to be 0. Okay, so if you are not familiar with reduce or map or any of the method I'm using, well, I would advise you to check it out on MDN, and I'm sure that one of the lessons will cover them. Okay, they are just higher order array method. They are higher other array methods that makes life easier for us as developers. Okay, so now what I have done here is that I want to get total price from what? From the array of prices that I got by what? By converting or by using the object of values on my items price object. Okay, so by using object of values, I'm getting arrays of the values of each of the items in the object. Okay, and now I can now use array method on them. Okay, so let's console.log this. All right, and I'm going to comment this out, and let's run. Okay, I see that it's now what is 7,000. Let's see if it is right. 1,000 plus 500, that is 1,500, plus 1,500, that's 3,000, plus 4,000, that's 10,000. Okay, so that's how object.values work. It will get values from what? From the object that you pass in to the object.value method. Okay, now let's have one more example on object.value. So const okay, what can we give our variable now? What should be the variable name? We can call it const person profile or const user profile. I just call it that. Okay, profile equals to object dot values, right? Object dot values. Then we want to pass in our person. Okay, all right, so console.log user profile, and let's see what we have. So user profile, okay, now you see that we now have our the details of the user, right? The name, the age, the color, hair color, is not married, which is false, then the hobbies. Okay, and now what can we do? Let's say from this we just want to get the hobbies, right? From this array, you see that hobby itself is an array of hobbies, right? Okay, so we can do, okay, let's destructure this. All right, so I'm just using this medium to actually expose you to some concepts in array as well, even though we are doing object, so you can easily check it out. Okay, const name, okay, age, okay, const name, age, color, married, okay, and hobbies, let's call it, okay, hobby. So let's that equals to what? Equals to user profile. Okay, and I just want to, for instance, now let's log hobby. Okay, console.log hobby. All right. So and that give us what? Oops, network. I need to stop this. Run it again. Now it should give us our results. What is taking so long now? Okay. Now I think we should run it again. And now we have what? We have array of our hobby, which include football and chess. All right. So what we just did here is what we call the array destructuring. Okay. So we just use destructuring to extract. So each of these now, our name is now the name that is present on the user profile. Age will be 60, color will be the color, and so on and so forth. All right. So next up is, now let's say we want to form an array from, we want to create an object from this from our user profile. By now we know that our user profile is what? Is just a plain array that comprises of what? That comprises of user details, right? So okay, before we go to that, let's see how we can convert both key and values into an array. Okay, and that will take us to the third part, which is object dot entries. Okay, the way entry works is that it will take key value pair and put them in an array. So we have a parent array having children array, and each of the children array will now have two items. One is the key and the second is the value. All right, so let's just say let's try that out. So const, so I'm creating a variable. I will call it uh user, I will call it user details or user data equals to Object.entries. Okay, and I'm going to pass in the person. Okay, so let's load this. Let's load that. That is what that should be. User data. Okay, and let me comment out this so that it does not interfere with our answer. Okay. Wow. So let me increase this so that we see that now we have our parent array, right? So the parent array now has what? It now has the name value pair inside their own arrays. So for the first item on our object, for the first property on our object, we have name with value, which is the Mikhail Rashid. Okay, we have another one weight, which is 60. So this is how Object.entries, this is how it works. Okay, so it will take the whole object, turn it to an array, and the parent, it will form a parent array and now have children array. So and each of the children will now have the first member as the key and the second member as the value. All right, I hope this is making sense. All right, and please, sorry for the background noise. So lastly is from entries. You are going to look into object dot from entries. Okay, and the way this work is that it converts an array back to what? Back to an object. Okay, so for example, now you know that we now have our user data as what? As array. So now let's create a new object. I will call it const new person, okay, and it will equals to object dot from entries. Okay, and I'm now passing in user data. Okay, that now I'm passing in data, which is array of user details, right? Sorry, console dot log new person. Wow, so now you have an object with name key, its value, weight 60, hair color black, is married first, and hobbies football. Now anytime you are having, you have an array and you want to convert it back to object. Okay, so from entries is your go-to. I hope this makes a lot of sense, and the video is long already, so we'll stop here and I will see you in the next one.